Hello and welcome to another video review from AVForums. I'm Phil Hinton and I've been the site editor since 2003. I'm also a fully trained and qualified THX and ISF professional calibrator with 18 years of experience. In today's video we have our review of the Philips 806 OLED TV. Before we talk about the performance of the Philips, if you like our reviews and want to see more of them while supporting our channel, then please like and subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell to be informed every time we upload new video content. You can also find a link to our Patreon in the video description, and also don't forget to check out the TV forums at Europe's largest AV community on AVForums to see what owners of this TV think about it after normal use in their own homes. We publish our in-depth TV reviews, which include measurements and calibration results first on AVForums, usually a little while before our YouTube videos, so make sure to head over and check them out as they contain even more in-depth calibration details and testing. We reviewed the Philips OLED 806 in November 2021. Philips finally add a 48-inch OLED screen size to its range with the OLED 806. It also includes all the current HDR formats, including HDR10 Plus and Dolby Vision, plus two new HDMI 2.1 full bandwidth inputs and gaming features such as VRR, AMD FreeSync Premium and ALLM, a first for the brand. Gaming input lag is also 15.1 milliseconds, which is excellent for a Philips OLED TV. Added to the feature list is the Philips TV USP of Ambilight. It's a full-on, four-sided bias lighting system that can be used to combat eye fatigue when viewing in a dark room, or adding lighting effects to follow the action on screen for complete immersion. It's a fantastic feature, only available on Philips TVs. The Philips OLED 806 is a good-looking TV with a minimalist design and two small stand feet, which makes it look unfussy and sleek. The feet are reversible, meaning you can choose between dark gunmetal or a brighter chrome finish that the screen sits on. The feet raise the screen slightly above the mounting surface, which does make it difficult to use a soundbar with the 806, but the payoff is a neat looking screen sitting just above your TV rack surface. There's no Bowers & Wilkins soundbar on the OLED 806 model, but it does feature a decent 2.1 sound system built into the chassis, and it features two high-frequency drivers and a rear-facing subwoofer. There's also support for DTS sound files and content, which is a rare feature these days on most TVs, but of course Philips also supports Dolby Atmos decoding, however this is limited to the 2.1 sound system on board. So overall, the Philips 806 directly competes with the LG 48C1, and it does so with some strong image quality, excellent motion and video processing, along with accurate calibrated images and very good sound quality. There is of course more competition than ever in the 48-inch screen size, and the Philips pulls together a very strong proposition, and it comes highly recommended. As we can see within the grayscale results, filmmaker mode is generally accurate with just a slight deficit of blue energy towards the brighter end of the scale, which translates to a slightly warmer looking white with a very slight yellow tint. Gamma is tracking well to BT1886, and overall our delta E errors are just slightly over the visible threshold of 3, which is why we can see a slight yellow tint to whites. This is still a very good result, but not as accurate out of the box as other screens we've tested in filmmaker mode. Philips certainly need to do a little bit more work to get this more accurate. Moving to the Rec 709 colour gamut results, and we can see because the white point is towards yellow in the grayscale results, this means that our primary and secondary colour points are moving towards yellow too. This affects green, magenta and yellow with hue errors, with red slightly oversaturated at all saturation points. By correcting the white point via calibration, the colour points should fall back to where they should be, and in practice, the out-of-the-box picture quality is fairly accurate, but Philips does need to correct the filmmaker mode preset. Following our calibration, the grayscale is reference quality, with no major issues visible in the graph or with film and TV content on screen. Our grayscale tracking is perfectly flat, with excellent gamma results and a delta E error that averages 0.4, which is well below the visible threshold of 3. The Rec 709 results are also excellent, with no visible errors within the actual viewing material and an average delta E error of 0.9, which is again well below the visible threshold of 3, so it's reference level. Once again, the Philips looks incredibly accurate following calibration. The 48-inch OLED 806 was measured in the Filmmaker Mode HDR settings, which are the closest to ST2084 PQ EOTF with a D65 white point and BT2020 colour gamut for HDR10 playback. Being a normal LG display OLED panel and not the EVO variant which is seen in the OLED Plus 936, we expected the peak brightness to be reasonable for an OLED set with the new 48-inch screen size. We measured the OLED 806 at various window sizes and we can see a peak brightness of 670 nits at 2%, 650 at 5% and 565 nits at the industry standard 10% window size, with 100% measuring in at 105 nits. We're not surprised with these measurements, which are identical to the LG 48-inch C1 in the Filmmaker HDR mode. When it comes to the PQ EOTF tracking to ST2084 and the set's tone mapping, we have different tone maps applied for 1000 and 4000 nit content, but also different tone mapping depending on the settings in the HDR Perfect menu. With HDR Perfect set to minimum, the 806 tone maps 1000 nit content with a hard clip at the peak brightness. It also applies a different tone map when it recognises a 4000 nit master signal, which rolls off in a gentle manner to preserve highlight details. If the content does not have metadata with the details of the mastering nit level, you can use the medium HDR Perfect setting, which then tone maps accordingly with a gentle roll off for both 1000 and 4000 nit content. When it comes to DCI P3 within the 2020 colour gamut, the results are impressive, especially in the saturation tracking of the correct points within the gamut. While the size is just short of the entire P3 gamut, it is impressively accurate at all primary and secondary saturation points. This means that wide colour gamut material looks impressive with vivid but accurate colour reproduction. We measure BT2020 at 72% XY and 77% UV, with P3 coming in at 98% XY and 99% UV. Panel uniformity was impressive with no signs of dirty screen effect or banding on brighter field patterns up to 100% brightness. We also found the 5% slide held up well with just mild banding seen in very dark surroundings with the pattern, but with actual viewing content, even dark scenes in dim viewing surroundings, we couldn't see these bands at all. We also didn't encounter any vignetting to the edges of the panel as the uniformity was very good. Black levels are also strong on the 48-inch 806, with some very small instances of black crush seen with some content, and we also seen some signs of floating blacks and flashing with tricky scenes that were low bitrate. Video processing is also very good on the Philips, with a strong upscaling performance that looks perceivably sharp with SD and HD content, even from poor sources, thanks to the P5 AI processor. It can, at times, look a little over-processed and digital, like the Sony approach, but by switching off most of the edge enhancement tools within the menus, the Philips is able to produce decent sharpness without overly noticeable ringing to edges. Native 4K content looks superb, as you would expect. Motion is also very good with the correct pull down applied to 24 frames per second content without adding any induced judder to film content when the pure cinema setting is applied. The movie setting adds some de-blur, and this is claimed to help with the effects of the sample and hold technology of OLED to make it look smoother without adding in soap opera effect. However, I could tell that interpolation was being applied, but your mileage may vary. There's also black frame insertion BFI available under the Fast Motion Clarity banner within the motion menus. This works well with SDR content and it increases the perceived resolution, but of course do not use this with HDR content as it does decrease the brightness. Moving away from film content, we also found that the OLED 806 was very good with normal broadcast material, which is 50Hz in the UK. Even with mixed cuts and fast moving new style programs, it looked clean without any artifacts. Calibrated SDR and HDR content looks superb on the OLED 806, and the 48-inch screen competes with the LG C1 on a level playing field in that regard. Philips really do have the processing and image know-how to compete with the big names in the business, and enthusiasts are now starting to sit up and take notice. If you're looking for cinematic images with stunning clarity, excellent motion and natural lifelike colours, the OLED 806 certainly delivers on all those counts. Blacks are strong with no obvious issues, and as always with OLED, it offers a stunning dynamic range that simply can't be rivalled. Moving to HDR10 and Dolby Vision content also highlighted just how well the 806 performs with HDR content, with stunning dynamic range and excellent wide colour gamut performance. Motion is again strong, and the image looks cinematic and bright with excellent peak highlight details on show. Colours are strong, vivid and natural, with excellent lifelike skin tones adding the final touches to the cinematic sheen. The Philips OLED 806 is a very good looking TV with a minimalist design, which makes it look unfussy and sleek. To the rear of the panel are the 4 strips of Ambilight LEDs, which run down each of the 4 edges of the rear of the panel. This gives the effect of light coming from all 4 edges when looking at the screen from the front. Also around the back are the connections, which are sideways and downwards facing. To the side we have a CI slot, 3.5mm headphone jack, a USB 3.0 and 2.0 port, and 2 HDMI 2.0B ports. Downwards facing we have a further USB 2.0 port, 2 HDMI 2.1 slots, an RF and satellite antenna, a LAN and a digital audio out. The remote control is a largely plastic affair that has a silver finish, and the buttons are well placed and logical, with direct access keys for apps towards the top and directional keys and enter button in the centre area within easy thumb reach. The remote sits neatly in the hand and is intuitive to use. We go into far more detail in the written review of the OLED 806, which you can find at AVForums.com. Thanks for watching.